Have you ever questioned how far someone might go to test your commitment? Would you risk your financial security for love? What if your privacy and self-worth were put to the ultimate test? A 59-year-old woman shares her shocking experience on a blind date that revealed the importance of setting personal boundaries and valuing self-worth in a relationship. Jane Parker, a 59-year-old retired accountant from Portland, Oregon, had spent years focusing on healing after the passing of her beloved husband. With her children grown and living their own lives, Jane found herself yearning for companionship. She felt emotionally and financially secure, ready to explore love again in her golden years. Encouraged by a close friend, Jane agreed to go on a blind date with Mark Johnson, a 63-year-old retired civil engineer from Seattle, Washington. They decided to meet at a charming, quiet cafe in Portland, where the cozy ambience seemed perfect for meaningful conversation. Their talk started lightheartedly, covering favorite hobbies, past travel experiences, and their goals for retirement. Jane appreciated Mark's sense of humor and his stories about building projects during his career. She felt a spark of excitement, hopeful that this could blossom into something meaningful. However, as the conversation deepened, Mark began sharing some surprising expectations he had for any serious relationship. His ideas about commitment and trust seemed unusually rigid and raised red flags for Jane. She started to feel uneasy, realizing that dating at this stage in life isn't just about companionship, but also about maintaining personal values, boundaries, and self-respect. Jane understood the importance of recognizing when something didn't feel right and how essential it was to prioritize her mental well-being. This date became a valuable lesson on self-worth and the non-negotiable need for mutual respect in any relationship. Mark's first proposal caught Jane off guard. He suggested they move in together for 6 months to test their compatibility. On the surface, it seemed like a practical idea. After all, sharing a living space could reveal how well they could coexist. However, for Jane, who deeply valued her independence after years of living alone, this felt rushed and intrusive. She wondered why Mark was so eager to accelerate their relationship without giving it time to naturally develop. What truly alarmed Jane was Mark's second condition. He asked her to deposit $10,000 into a joint account as a symbol of her serious commitment. Mark explained that the money would be a safeguard, proving her dedication, and if things didn't work out, he would return a portion of it. Jane was stunned. This wasn't just about living together. It felt like a business transaction rather than the start of a meaningful relationship. Jane paused to reflect on this demand. She had worked hard to build financial stability and manage her retirement savings wisely. The idea of tying her hard-earned money to a man she barely knew was deeply unsettling. Trust should be earned through actions, not financial gestures. This request seemed to blur the lines between trust and control, raising significant red flags. Moreover, Jane thought about the implications of combining finances so early in a relationship. She recalled advice from friends about protecting her assets and maintaining financial independence, especially in later life. This demand contradicted everything she believed about healthy relationships. Love should never be contingent on financial investments. Jane politely but firmly questioned Mark about his reasoning. His vague answers and insistence that this was a normal step only deepened her discomfort. It became clear to her that Mark's request wasn't about building trust, it was about control. Jane knew she needed to stand by her boundaries and prioritize her financial security. This experience was a crucial reminder for Jane and others that relationships at any age should be built on mutual respect, trust, and emotional connection, not financial transactions. It reinforced her belief in setting clear personal boundaries and never compromising her self-worth for the sake of companionship. Mark's second proposal seemed even more perplexing. He enthusiastically suggested they take a luxurious 2-week vacation to Hawaii. Mark described the trip in vivid detail. Private helicopter tours over volcanoes, romantic sunset dinners on the beach, and guided hikes through lush rainforests. To Jane, it sounded like a dream getaway. However, Mark quickly added that he expected Jane to pay for the entire trip. He argued that since he would plan every detail, she should handle the financial side. Jane was taken aback. While she appreciated thoughtful gestures, this request felt unbalanced. Covering such a lavish vacation's full cost seemed excessive, especially for a relationship that had just begun. Jane believed in fairness and mutual contribution in relationships. Paying for everything, especially something so extravagant, contradicted her values of financial independence and equality. She thought about how important it was to manage her retirement savings wisely. Jane had always been careful with her finances, ensuring she could enjoy her later years without financial strain. Mark's assumption that she would fund this entire trip made Jane question his intentions. Was this about building a connection, or was he testing how far he could push boundaries? Jane also reflected on how shared financial responsibilities are essential for building trust. A relationship should be built on mutual respect and understanding, not one-sided expectations. Mark's request disregarded this principle. Jane couldn't ignore the red flag. Mark's demand wasn't about creating memories together, it was about control and entitlement. Instead, feeling uneasy, Jane calmly expressed her concerns. She explained that financial balance in a relationship was crucial and that she wasn't comfortable funding such an expensive trip alone. Mark's dismissive response only deepened her discomfort. He insisted that it was a small price to pay for a potentially lasting relationship, revealing a troubling lack of consideration for her perspective. This moment became a turning point for Jane. She realized how vital it was to uphold her boundaries and trust her instincts. Jane knew that genuine love and companionship should never come with unfair demands. This experience reaffirmed her belief that any healthy relationship must be rooted in mutual respect, equality, and shared responsibility. Mark's third demand was perhaps the most unsettling of all. He insisted that Jane install a tracking app on her phone so he could monitor her whereabouts at any time. He framed this request as a way to build trust and ensure transparency between them. Jane was stunned. She had always valued her independence and privacy, which she had nurtured carefully after years of living alone. The idea of someone constantly knowing her location felt deeply invasive and controlling. But Mark didn't stop there. He further requested access to Jane's social media accounts and email passwords. He claimed that sharing this information would eliminate any doubts or suspicions, fostering an open and honest relationship. To Jane, this request crossed a critical line. Relationships should be built on mutual trust earned over time, not enforced through surveillance and control. Jane paused to consider how Mark's request reflected his perspective on relationships. His extreme need for control and validation signaled not love or trust, but insecurity and dominance. She realized that agreeing to these demands would mean sacrificing her autonomy and personal freedom, something she worked hard to regain after her husband's passing. Jane remembered stories from friends who had faced controlling partners and how difficult it was for them to regain their independence. She knew healthy relationships are based on respect and trust, not fear or constant monitoring. Jane understood that no one, regardless of their intentions, should demand that kind of access to her private life. Attempting to understand his reasoning, Jane calmly questioned Mark about why he felt this level of access was necessary. His response was dismissive and defensive. He insisted that in today's world, complete openness was essential for a lasting relationship. He accused Jane of being secretive simply because she hesitated. This manipulation only deepened Jane's discomfort and confirmed her suspicion that his demand was more about control than trust. Jane felt a growing sense of unease. She thought about how this type of controlling behavior could escalate over time. What would be next? Would he question her friendships, criticize how she spent her time, or attempt to control other aspects of her life? Jane knew she couldn't ignore these red flags. Respecting on her values, Jane recognized the importance of protecting her mental health and personal space. Relationships should be safe and nurturing, not restrictive or suffocating. She firmly told Mark that she valued trust and privacy and could not agree to his request. His cold and dismissive reaction made her decision even clearer. This relationship could not continue. This encounter was a powerful reminder for Jane and others that love must be grounded in trust, respect, and personal freedom. It highlighted the need for setting strong boundaries and recognizing when someone's behavior is unhealthy. Jane walked away feeling empowered, knowing she made the right decision to prioritize her well-being and self-respect. Mark's final demand struck a deeply personal chord with Jane. He bluntly told her that he expected her to lose at least 15 pounds to meet his ideal standard of physical appearance. If that wasn't shocking enough, he went further, casually suggesting that she consider cosmetic procedures to freshen up her look. Mark argued that maintaining a youthful appearance was essential for keeping a romantic relationship exciting. Jane was stunned by his insensitivity. She couldn't believe someone she barely knew felt entitled to critique her body and appearance so openly. Jane had spent years learning to love and accept herself as she was. She took pride in her health and appearance, but never believed in conforming to anyone else's unrealistic standards. Aging gracefully, to her, meant embracing life's natural changes and focusing on emotional and physical well-being rather than chasing youth through artificial means. Mark's comments were not only hurtful but also deeply disrespectful. They revealed a shallow perspective that prioritized looks over genuine connection and character. Jane reflected on how dangerous and damaging these kinds of expectations could be, especially for women in their later years. Society often pressures older women to look younger, but Jane believed that love should be rooted in acceptance and respect, not in meeting superficial demands. She thought about friends who had struggled with self-esteem due to similar pressures and knew how critical it was to stand firm in self-worth. Politely but firmly, Jane asked Mark why her appearance mattered so much to him. His answer? That he simply had certain standards for his partner, only confirmed his superficiality. Jane realized that if she agreed to this demand, she would be compromising her integrity and allowing someone else to dictate how she should feel about herself. That was unacceptable. Jane understood that relationships should foster growth, comfort, and mutual appreciation, not foster insecurity or self-doubt. She wasn't interested in being with someone who valued her appearance over her heart, wisdom, and life experience. Mark's obsession with physical perfection was a glaring red flag that Jane couldn't ignore. Reflecting on her values, Jane knew she deserved a partner who cherished her for who she was, not for how closely she matched a societal beauty standard. She calmly but confidently explained to Mark that she would not change herself to meet anyone's expectations. She deserved a relationship built on acceptance, not conditions. This experience was a powerful affirmation for Jane. It reminded her, and could remind others, that aging is not something to be feared or hidden but celebrated. Every line, wrinkle, and gray hair told a story of resilience, joy, and growth. Jane realized that any partner worth having would appreciate those stories, not try to erase them. Walking away from that conversation, Jane felt a profound sense of relief. She had protected her self-worth and reaffirmed her belief in self-love. Jane knew she would continue seeking a relationship where she was valued for her character and spirit, not judged by her appearance. This experience reinforced the importance of setting boundaries and embracing self-acceptance at any age. Jane Parker walked away from her experience with Mark feeling a profound sense of relief and clarity. She realized that dating later in life isn't simply about finding companionship. It's about preserving personal values, setting healthy boundaries, and protecting one's emotional well-being. Mark's 4 demanding conditions exposed behaviors that conflicted with Jane's core beliefs about respect, trust, and mutual understanding. By declining to continue the relationship, Jane honored her self-worth and demonstrated the importance of trusting one's instincts. She recognized that love should never require sacrificing independence, privacy, or self-respect. Jane's experience was a powerful reminder that meaningful relationships are built on mutual appreciation, not unrealistic expectations or control. Jane also understood how vital it is to prioritize mental and emotional health, especially in later years. Life is too precious to be spent trying to meet someone else's unreasonable demands. Instead, it should be filled with relationships that inspire joy, comfort, and growth. Mark's behavior taught Jane, and could teach others, the importance of recognizing red flags and taking decisive action to protect one's peace of mind. Looking back, Jane felt empowered by her decision. She knew that she deserved a partner who would value her character, kindness, and life experience over superficial standards. Her journey reaffirmed that it's never too late to prioritize self-love and embrace relationships that are grounded in genuine respect. Jane's story serves as an inspiring reminder to others that love in later life should enrich, not diminish, who we are. Every individual deserves a relationship where they feel safe, valued, and free to be themselves without compromise. Jane encourages seniors seeking love to prioritize their self-worth and establish healthy boundaries. She reminds us that it's never too late to embrace relationships built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. Love in later life should bring comfort, joy, and companionship, not compromise. By staying true to yourself and recognizing red flags, you can find meaningful connections that honor your values and enrich your life in every way.